This is an adventure written by Charlotte Ann Moberly and Eleanor Jourdain, edited by Tony Walker, narrated by Tony Walker. Editor's Introduction. This book was originally published in 1910 and represents the accounts and research of two English women who had an experience of some kind of time slip in the gardens of the Palace of Versailles outside Paris on August the 10th, 1901. They apparently walked through the gardens as they were on August the 10th, 1792, the day the French monarchy fell during the French Revolution. They wrote a book about this called An Adventure, though the incident is also known as the Ghost of the Petit Trianon. This account is remarkable for its detail of the accounts of the two women and the efforts they went to establish the historical evidence for their belief that they had strayed into the past. They wrote the book under pseudonyms, Elizabeth Morrison and Frances Lamont, though their actual names were Charlotte Moberly, born 1846, died 1937, and Eleanor Jourdain, born 1863, died 1924. Moberly's father was headmaster at the prestigious Winchester School and later Bishop of Salisbury. In her account, she distances herself from a belief in ghosts and the occult. An epidemic of spiritualism was sweeping Britain and America at that time. Jourdain's father was a vicar of the Church of England. Moberly was principal of a hall of residence for women at Oxford University, and Jourdain was to be appointed as her assistant. Jourdain at that time was working as a tutor in Paris, and Moberly went to visit her there to get to know her better before she took up the job. As their accounts show, their visit to Versailles on the 10th of August 1901 was one of a number of tourist trips they went on while Moberly was visiting Jourdain in Paris. They wrote separate accounts of their visit 3 months later in Oxford. Interestingly, subsequent to An Adventure, Moberly had claimed to see the ghost of the Roman Emperor Constantine in the Louvre in Paris in 1914. Jourdain later became principal of St. Hugh's at Oxford, and there is a report of an almost delusional thought where she became convinced that a German spy was hiding in the college. Later, her management style caused mass resignations at the college, and in the middle of this scandal in 1924, she suddenly died. In 1931, J.W. Dunn, the author of An Experiment with Time, wrote the introduction to a new edition of An Adventure, and he said, "Hence, if Einstein is right, the contents of time are just as real as the contents of space. Marie Antoinette, body and brain, is sitting in the Trianon garden now." You will see that Moberly's theory is that somehow they were viewing the memories of Marie Antoinette from 10th of August 1792, not that they had stumbled into the past. To my mind, the idea of a time slip seems more plausible than reliving a dead person's memories. I know this is still a pretty controversial view, but I would base it on Dunn's quote above and evidence from other time slip type experiments, which I will discuss after the text of An Adventure. However, there are problems too with the time slip explanation. Moberly makes much of the anniversary that it was the 10th of August when they saw these visions, and 10th of August was the day of the downfall of the French monarchy. Though Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette were not executed for many months, but we see that on the 10th of August 1792 the King and Marie Antoinette were at the Tuileries in central Paris when it was assailed by revolutionaries, not at Versailles. After leaving the Tuileries for their own safety, they then retreated to the National Assembly. After a deliberation, the Assembly locked them in the small reporter's box called a logographe. At the end of that day, Marie Antoinette was imprisoned in the Tower of the Temple. Humbert de Saint-Amand gives a detailed account of that day in his Marie Antoinette and the Downfall of Royalty, translated Elizabeth Gilbert Martin. Also, the Count de Vaudreuil was not present in Versailles on the 10th of August 1792, as he had left France in 1789 after the storming of the Bastille. I suppose this is why Moberly does not feel she walked into the past as it was on the 10th of August, but into the memories of Marie Antoinette as she remembered Versailles from her confined prison in the logographe at the National Assembly. She discusses these points in the chapter Answers to Questions We Have Been Asked. This text. The original text is available in the public domain. There are some problems with it, however. The authors make infuriating use of footnotes. There are nearly 200. Both to reference their sources and also to add additional commentary. I suppose that the footnotes represent thoughts that occurred to them when seeing previously typed text, and the cost of resetting the text made it easier to add these subsequent thoughts as footnotes.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?